from Louisiana.
Trying to run a one-sided Soviet-style process that we've never seen before. This isn't like Benghazi. This isn't like anything else. This is an impeachment inquiry. And in fact, Speaker Pelosi's resolution confirms that it's an impeachment inquiry, yet every other impeachment inquiry we've had in the history of our country, all three, have allowed both sides to call witnesses, have allowed the White House to participate. That's not happening right now. And in fact, not only is it happening, but I think it's important for Jim Jordan to note what just started happening today in this committee, where they're trying to impeach a president behind closed doors without any due process.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your leadership. I think most of you know that Chairman Schiff has prevented the witness from answering certain questions we have during the deposition. You know, one of the things you do in these depositions is you ask the basics: who, what, when, where, why. You ask those questions. When we asked the whistleblower who he spoke to after important events in July, Adam Schiff says, no, we're not going to let him answer that question. Even though at the start of every one of these depositions, and you all know this already, at the start of every single one, he says this is not classified. He tells us that. The witness has their counsel there, their lawyer there. They don't need Adam Schiff being chairman and lawyer. But that's in effect what happened today, and he would not let the witness. And look, the Democrats run out here and say, oh, the Republicans are trying to figure out who the whistleblower is. We're trying to figure out who a witness list is. The resolution that the Speaker has just filed, at some point she points this out in the resolution, this is going to go to the Judiciary Committee, if in fact they push it there. There will be witnesses called. We'd like to figure out who those witnesses should be so the American people can get the facts, get the truth, and we know who these individuals are. So that it seems interesting to me that Chairman Schiff is so sensitive. I mean, pointed out last week, there are 435 members of Congress. One of them, only one of them, knows who the whistleblower is. More importantly, who the sources are for the whistleblower that were the basis of him filing this complaint. And somehow he doesn't want anyone else to know that. Mr. Schiff and his staff are the only ones in America who can know, and there's evidence about his sensitivity. You saw it on display today when we tried to ask the witness certain questions, and Mr. Schiff would not let him answer.
Among those questions, are you asking for names that the witness has been in contact with?
That's usually what you do when you want to know who he spoke to.
Okay, is he answering?
He wouldn't. The chairman wouldn't let him.
But the Democrats are contending that that's a process of elimination to try to figure out who the whistleblower is.
No, it's a process of figuring out who we are going to call as witnesses. We did a letter last week. You all saw the letter. It came from Ranking Member Nunes, Ranking Member McCall, and myself, where we said, go read the complaint. Bullet point number 1 on page 1 of the complaint. What does the so-called whistleblower says? What does he say? Over the past 4 months, more than half a dozen U.S. officials formed the basis of this effort and this complaint that he's filing. I want to know who those more than half a dozen officials are. We want to call them as witnesses, determine their. It's tough to determine someone's credibility if you don't know who they are and you can't put them under oath and ask them questions. Everyone should know that.
What about Mr. Vindman's concerns that he raised in his opening statement that the ask to investigate the Bidens could potentially undermine national security? What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is always to say what I said this morning. There are 4 fundamental facts that have never changed. Never changed. Mr. Vindman is not the first one we've talked to who has been on the call. We've heard from President Trump and President Zelensky. We got the transcript. Both President Trump and President Zelensky said no conditions, no pressure, no pushing, no quid pro quo. We've got the